ceremony of cadet officers of the Combined Services Military Academy, EMIA. First cabinet meeting for 2020 has elaborated Cameroon's diplomatic outreach program and plans to rationalize contributions to international bodies. And Cameroon's conjoined twins BC and Eyanga are back in the country after a successful separation surgery in France. The details. Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on CRTV. I am Moki Edwin Kinzaka in Yaoundé. We begin with this press release from the Presidential Republic signed by Samuel Mvondo Ayolo, Minister, Director of the Civil Cabinet. It reads, "The President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, Head of State and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, will on Friday, 24 January 2020 at 12 noon preside over the graduation ceremony of the Major General Kaji Jacob Batch of the Combined Services Military Academy at the ceremonial ground of the Headquarters Brigade in Yaoundé." And this is a program of the ceremony. 8 a.m. Troops, the population and entertainment groups assemble. 8:30 a.m. end of assembly. 8:40 arrival of guests. 10:15 to 10:35 a.m. arrival of CPDM Political Bureau members and leaders of political parties represented at the National Assembly and the Senate. 10:35 to 10:50 arrival of members of the Diplomatic Corps and representatives of international organizations. 10:50 to 11:05 a.m. arrival of members of government and persons ranking as such. 11:10 a.m. arrival of minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense. 11:15 a.m. arrival of the first president and the procureur general of the Supreme Court. 11:20 a.m. arrival of the president of the Constitutional Council. 11:25 a.m. arrival of the president of the Economic and Social Council. 11:30 a.m. arrival of the Prime Minister, Head of Government. 11:35 a.m. arrival of the President of the National Assembly. 11:40 a.m. arrival of the President of the Senate. End of installation of dignitaries. 12 noon arrival of His Excellency Paul Biya, President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, welcomed by the Minister Delegate at the Presidency in charge of Defense, review of troops, installation in the VIP stand, award of epaulets to cadet officers of the Major General Kaji Jacob Batch, speech by the Head of State, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, military parade, cocktail, group photograph. The Head of State returns to Unity Palace at or by 2 p.m. and that will be the end of ceremony. And so cadet officers from the Combined Services Military Academy will graduate tomorrow in the presence of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Paul Biya. This is usually an opportunity to exalt the bounding understanding between the Commander-in-Chief and the military rank and file. Chief Unity Palace correspondent Ashu Nyente.
Between the Cameroon Army and its Commander-in-Chief, President Paul Biya. The boss of the army has over the years striven to nurture and mature a seamless understanding between the two protectors of state institutions, one by policy and the other by ensuring the sanctity of these institutions and the territorial integrity of the nation. The graduation parade of cadet officers of the Combined Services Military Academy is usually one such opportunity of immersion and communion between the head of state and the army. And since the army is the bedrock of the nation, this encounter is, by extension, also a perfect communion with the entire nation. This will be the 23rd time in 37 years President Paul Biya will be making the trip to the Headquarters Brigade to review the parade. As the head of the Ministry of Defense, the head of state decides on the deployment of troops, their mobilization, and the projection of soldiers in any combat theater. He defines the defense policy of the nation in consonance with the Constitution, which provides that all citizens contribute to the defense of the fatherland. President Paul Biya shapes the character of the Cameroon Army to resonate with the national and international ambitions of the country. In 2001, a major military reform introduced professionalism, rejuvenation, and pumped in enormous resources in hardware and financial wherewithal. But these reforms were not static. The reforms have been readjusted when the need has arisen, especially to enable the armed forces meet asymmetric and unanticipated security challenges. Emerging threats and conflicts, such as those of Boko Haram and recently separatist movements, have challenged war theories expounded by Sun Tzu. But Cameroon's military supremo, Paul Biya, has kept the army afloat, sometimes carving out the country into military regions, special commands, and activating the brigades to enhance operational efficacy, enabling the defense forces to stay closer to the various theaters of action. The army has maintained its efficiency. It has remained professional, disciplined, and loyal to state institutions. Its republican posture and character have been tried and tested. The tandem President Paul Biya, Commander-in-Chief, and the army can be summarized in the words of Alexandre Dumas: one for all and all for one.
Final preparations have been going on at the Combined Services Military Academy ahead of tomorrow's graduation ceremony. Elvis Teke reports that all has been put in place for a solemn ceremony in front of the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
The campus of the Combined Services Military Academy, EMIA, in Yaoundé is busy like a beehive with cadet officers making finishing touches ahead of their triumph this Friday.
We are here to make a final checkup to verify if everything is all right.
Trainers of the Major General Jacob Koji batch in one of their last lessons ensure that every uniform is uniformly prepared for the grand ceremony. The watchword is uniformity in their dressing code, from cap through tie to socks and shoes, as well as every insignia that must be worn. Thursday was also a day to rest after the general rehearsals at the military headquarters brigade on Wednesday.
We are where we call usually atelier of review to verify if uniform, names, clothes, shoes, everything precisely about uniformity.
The cadet officers of the 37th batch of EMIA are excited and ready for their graduation ceremony in front of the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
After undergoing 3 years of training, I can say I'm very happy to be among those who graduate.
They are also making arrangements for the feast that they plan to throw after the solemn ceremony in their different neighborhoods.
My family and I, we have put everything together so that the graduation should be the best of all.
Even at the last minute before they leave school, concentration is ensured, and the lecturers ensure that the 37th batch is reminded that discipline, honor, and loyalty should be their watchwords, even after graduation.
The special training of the 37th batch of students of the Combined Services Military Academy comes as a response to the current security situation in the country, especially in the northwest and southwest regions. For over a decade, Cameroon has faced several security alerts, and with the adaptive reaction, came out as a winning defense and security force. Kilian Dandifon.
Maritime piracy in the Gulf of Guinea until about 7 years ago was a nightmare to all the member countries, including Cameroon. And through bilateral and multilateral defense and security cooperation, Cameroon has put the phenomenon in history records, even if there are still circumstantial attacks on the high seas. Within the same period, sophisticated highway robbery and trans-border crime rendered life miserable for compatriots along the frontiers with the Central African Republic, Nigeria, and Chad. In the first case, like in the second, Cameroon came out victorious because it adapted the training of the defense and security forces to meet the challenges of the time. From 2014, the Nigerian-based terrorist sect Boko Haram turned its caliphate extension attacks on Cameroon through an unconventional kidnapping, ambush, and suicide bombing warfare. The High Command responded with training of defense and security forces adapted to the situation, and today Boko Haram is on its knees in the affected Far North region. Again, the separatists have come up with another unconventional warfare. In military colleges, schools and training centers, Cameroon is readapting the forces to meet such challenges. That is why the 37th batch of students of the Combined Services Military Academy EMIA have undertaken an unprecedented special commando training, among other specialties.
On to other news items now. Members of government are expected to submit reports on relations with international organizations that boost Cameroon's diplomatic ties to enable the government to rationalize its contributions to the organizations. This is one of the issues discussed at a cabinet meeting for the month of January 2020, chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Gutte. The meeting also listened to reports by the Ministers of Post and Telecommunications and Mines, Industries and Technological Development. Sisako Tamko reports.
The country's membership in international organizations cannot be overlooked. Besides maintaining standards to ensure safety, achieving economic stability and establishing norms, international organizations set the international agenda and facilitate cooperation among member states. It has been discovered that constraint inherent in the payment of contributions due to these organizations by the state is as a result of the absence of data on bank domiciliation, as well as the late communication of information on changes in the amounts of statutory contributions by their legislative bodies. As remedy, the first cabinet session for 2020 came up with this proposal.
To bring all the ministers to take the decisions, the accurate decisions, to say that yes, this international organization is very important for the country, and to explain why. And when we have decided that we should remain in that organization, we put it in his own budget.
10 billion CFA francs on average annually was paid to 196 international organizations over the past decade. With the crisis situation and other attendant commitments, the country needs to rationalize its participation.
Why are we a member? Should we remain in this as a member of this international organization, and what are the contributions we have to pay? When the ministers will have them on their own chapters, that means on their own budget, I think that things will move perfectly.
The different departments are expected to forward proposals by June, which will be transmitted to the President of the Republic, head of the country's diplomacy. The Ministers of Post and Telecommunications, Mines, Industry and Technological Development also gave reports on the implementation of the framework for equitable management of the optical fiber, as well as updating the industrialization master plan, respectively.
Cameroon's elections management body ELECAM has held a meeting with political parties and the media to clear some doubts about the electoral process 2 days to the start of campaigns for the February 9 joint polls. The elections officials insist that national interest should be primordial in every political outing. Beatrice Losamba has the rest of that story.
When all complaints are thought to have been heard, political parties still have questions about the electoral process.
I'm supposed to go to Fontaine in the BLM, Yumojok, and Upper Bayan. I don't know why the government is delaying to give us money for campaigns.
The president of Bureau de Vote who can just order things in the Bureau de Vote, that is a problem. You just have to coordinate.
As we are in a two-in election, we shall have 2 representatives in the polling station. This is not the point of view of ELECAM.
The media, which would play an essential role in relaying election information to enable voters make the right choice, joins in the conversation.
Like it obtains in many other countries, level of subvention is given to facilitate the private press also play their role.
The tripartite meeting between ELECAM, political parties and the media provided an occasion to air these worries and seek assurances from the body which governs and supervises elections at all levels, while assuring the Electoral code would be respected to the letter, the chairperson of the Electoral Board of Elections Cameroon, Eno Abrams Egbe, communicated ELECAM's preparedness for the election 2 days to the start of campaigns. Close to 7 million voters from the 10 regions will cast ballots in about 1,700 polling stations. Scores of political parties are contesting in the February 9 election of about 360 mayors and 180 parliamentarians.
The Yaoundé 6th Council Hall has been inaugurated by the Minister of Decentralization, George Elanga Obam. The 843 million CFA franc edifice was constructed with funds from the Council Support Fund for Mutual Assistance for ICAM. Beatrice Gum reports.
Story edifice that will henceforth host the Yaoundé 6th Council. The building, christened the People's House, has been inaugurated by the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, flanked by other members of government. Constructed to the tune of 843 million CFA francs by FECOM, the structure is comprised of offices, toilets, a library, a conference hall, just to name but these. Officials say the activities of the council should impact the lives of the populations.
Our local councils are not just going to be offices where people can come and have service rendered to them. If you want to have local development, first go and look how the local council is located. This is the real sense the laws want to give to what the council should be.
The Yaoundé 6th Council has functioned for over 24 years without a befitting structure. The council, too, has been at the center of debates with a wave of debt it has recorded. That notwithstanding, the council must continue to be at the service of the population, the acting mayor stressed.
The population needs to feel at ease. That is what decentralization entails. It is a new challenge for me because we need to be there for the population.
The population turned out to join council officials to celebrate this edifice that it took 10 years to complete.
Craft promoters in the Noon division will no longer face much difficulties in production, exposition, promotion and marketing of their products. They now have special handicraft village in Fumban, and the facility was inaugurated recently by the Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Ashe Basilican Trois, in the presence of Sultan Ibrahim Bobonjoya. Details with Kevin Nimbo.
Fumban, the city of arts and craft with an old-age tradition of over 600 years, is now host to one of the biggest special handicrafts village in the country, inaugurated by the Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Social Economy and Handicraft, who urge craftsmen and women to get the best out of this artistic and architectural edifice.
I believe that with this inauguration today, those who were operating also in the informal sector will come here and be hosted and be given the necessary technical support they deserve.
The artisans praise the government for efforts made to promote the sector.
It generates creativity, it equally creates room for self-employment, and if a house like this is built so that we can come and then display our craft and even sell in order to earn a living, I think it's better.
Minister Ashe Basilican III, who assured that water installation and electrification projects as well as the equipment of the handicraft village will soon be executed, had earlier visited the West Regional Handicraft Village in Bafoussam, where he urged those charged with the execution to accelerate works, given that the rate of execution is 43%.
Officials of the Central and Devolved Services of the Ministry of Water and Energy have met today in Yaoundé to examine strategies on how to improve their services to the population. The officials met on the account of their annual conference under the theme Stakes, Challenges and Perspective in the Water and Energy Sector in the Era of Decentralization. Luma Slim Davis was there.
Holding in the era of decentralization, the annual conference of the heads of the Central and Devolved Services of the Ministry of Water and Energy has a lot of stakes and challenges.
The challenge is to improve the quality of our services, to bring more water, good water to the population, to bring more electricity and good electricity to the population. You have to fight against blackout.
Participating officials at the conference critically examined strategies on how to ensure adequate and clean energy and water supply nationwide and in respect of the decentralization process involving collectivities.
The first thing is to work on the main equipment in place now to be sure that maintenance will be at point. And the second activities is to improve what you are doing in terms of monitoring on the activity in the building of the principal dams. You like to achieve Menvele, because Menvele now you have the problem of the transmission line.
The decentralization process has certainly obliged the Ministry of Water and Energy to deeply review its manner of functioning. In view of this, innovations have to be made and workable solutions proposed.
2 North African electricity companies have signed 3 contracts with the Electricity Development Company EDC to power 150 localities in the East region. The 25 billion francs project is financed by the Development Bank of Central African States and the government of Cameroon. Gerard Nanji reports.
In spite of the completion of the Lompanga Dam in January 2017, the population of the East region is still to feel the impact. The region is stifled by inadequate energy supply. However, there is hope following the signing of 3 contracts between 2 North African companies, the Electricity Development Corporation EDC and the Central African States Development Bank BIDEC, while penning their signatures on behalf of their respective companies. Moroccan Mustafa Mojrik of Fabrelec SA, Mohamed Amma of Stek International Services of Tunisia, Patrick Heve of Central African State Development Bank. This will permit the construction of a power plant at Lompanga that will generate a capacity of 30 megawatts of electricity to 150 localities.
We are very happy today to sign these 3 contracts to the MTBT line in the East region. It's very important for this part of the country. After fulfilling the dam, Lompanga Dam.
Considered as the second phase, the 25 billion franc CFA project will help extend high-tension lines from Lompanga to Betua and from Baturi to Abombang. Upon completion by November 2021, the economic and social life of the people would have been improved.
The minister delegate to the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development has called on farmers in Bipindi to produce quality products for a ready sub-regional market. Clementine Ananga Messina was speaking during the 2nd edition of the Yam Festival in the Ocean Division. Cyril Nwazeke reports.
There was more than enough yam in Bipindi for all, as the subdivision welcomed farmers and exhibitors from the other subdivisions of the Ocean Division to celebrate the 2nd edition of the Yam Festival. The Yam Festival, an annual event organized by the Network Association of Women, Men and Daughters of Bipindi, an opportunity given to farmers to exhibit their best produce of the year.
Despite of the numerous problems, lack of good seeds, lack of good farm-to-market roads, I've said that we will create agri-posts here. They will have at their disposal agri-posts in the level of the subdivision, the level of division, and at the regional level. They will have all the counsel that they need.
The hundreds of farmers and exhibitors hailed the support from the Network Association.
We'll continue to be together. We are people of the same place, the same villages. We hope that our elites, our husbands and friends, the government as the Ministry of Agriculture will also continue to sustain us in our action.
Agricultural equipment to facilitate production were handed to farmers who won the different prizes in contest. Apart from yam, other produce that grow in the ocean were also exhibited to the satisfaction of South Governor Felix Ngelengele.
Act 4 of our running series on insecurity in school focuses today on the circulation of drugs in educational establishments. School authorities have admitted that some of those drugs, especially tramadol, are smuggled, sold and consumed right at the doorsteps of schools. Ryan Atusali reports.
The equation of drug trafficking seems to be a difficult one to solve. The network, which grows by the day, has found its way in school campuses, with students playing the dealer and consumer roles. Drugs like cocaine, tramadol and marijuana are sold right at the doorsteps of schools.
In our school milieux, for example, we know children get their drug from those who sell drugs outside, from their friends and from other people who even come and propose the drugs to some students.
Once the drugs get on campus, it's a whole different ball game identifying the culprits.
The student is very violent. They don't respect teachers. He like fight. And they don't take notes in school.
In an attempt to break the chain, schools have beefed up security. Impromptu search of bags is carried out on a daily basis.
At the gate every morning we search students. Then we have a surveillance camera in the office of the director. It enables her to see most of the school. Thirdly, we go into the classrooms to do unannounced search.
In addition to this, suspects and students known to be consumers are brought before the drug committee for psychological assistance.
We have a relationship with a medical center that deals with students who consume drugs. So we took their contact and they told us in case of any case we should bring the students there to follow them up.
Controlling the circulation of drugs in schools is a complex situation, many admit. But school authorities say they won't relent in their efforts of accompanying students out of drug abuse.
The Circle of Friends of Cameroon, CERAC, has handed over newly renovated buildings to the Catholic Integrated Health Center, Oru Tada, in Mayo-Chanaga Division. Mrs. Fadimatu Kavai, who represented the First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Bia, also donated medical and pharmaceutical equipment to the health facility. Ayuk Jonashu reports.
In unison, the people of Mayo-Chanaga acclaimed the humanitarian gesture of the Circle of Friends of Cameroon, CERAC, and its founding president, Mrs. Chantal Bia.
Yesterday, it was assistance to victims of Boko Haram atrocities. Today, it is the turn of the Urutada Integrated Health Center to benefit from the generosity of the First Lady Chantal Bia, UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador. We are overwhelmed by this humanitarian gesture of Madame Chantal Bia.
To Mrs. Fadimatu Kavai, personal representative of the First Lady, this is in line with CERAC's commitment to assist the needy.
Nothing will stop us, be it bad roads or distance, in our strive to better the welfare of fellow citizens. We are engaged wholeheartedly behind our founding president, Mrs. Chantal Bia. Each time we complete a project, we return with more zeal to continue our noble mission. I use this opportunity to congratulate members of CERAC for their humanitarian gestures all over Cameroon for the last 25 years.
The consignment donated to the renovated and equipped Catholic Integrated Health Center of Orotada includes an ambulance, incubators, hospital beds, consultation tables, wheelchairs, pharmaceutical products, and biochemical equipment. Meanwhile, CERAC has also rekindled smiles on the faces of inpatients of the former Rohan Shabo leper settlement at the locality of Ziling with stocks of basic needs. The ceremony, attended by some top personalities, including the Minister of Public Health, Manauda Malashi, and former Minister Zachary Perevet, as well as Governor Nijawak Bakari of the Far North region, was marked by prayers of intercession for peace to reign in Cameroon.
Cameroon conjoined twins Bise and Yanga are back in the country after undergoing rare separation surgery in France. The now independent twins, who have been taken to the gyneco-obstetric hospital for follow-up and observation, were welcomed in Yaoundé by family and medical experts. Bruno Donrifoni reports.
For 1 month, BC and Ayenga, who left Cameroon for Lyon, France, as Siamese twins, have been experiencing a new life, living as separate beings. It took a team of more than 20 surgical experts 7 hours to complete a delicate operation that now permits the little girls to be cradled and hugged separately. They are now back in Cameroon, and with joy, family, friends and well-wishers have welcomed them with the warmth embrace they hardly ever imagined since their birth. The mother acknowledges the complicated procedure would not have been a success story without the support of her benefactors.
I am happy they are independent of each other, thanks to collective action.
Keen follow-up is, however, needed to keep BC and Ayenga on a positive health check as they grow up.
We have specialists who will do their physical growth and development follow-up, psychosocial aspects. We have experts in child psychology, social welfare, who will make sure that these children grow normally.
BC and Ayenga are currently lodged at the Yaoundé Gynec-Obstetric Hospital, where they will continue to benefit from government's health care till it is guaranteed they can rejoin their biological family.
The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court has challenged his collaborators and staff to work towards improving the image of the judiciary in the country. Daniel Mekobe-Sonne said the preservation of social peace and consolidation of good governance must be held in high esteem. He was speaking while receiving New Year wishes in Yaoundé. Sidonin Jogbandi reports.
The development of a new social media application to help in the management of judicial procedures at the Supreme Court, the construction of a new archive center and the effective operation of the Supreme Court website are some of the key innovations of the 2020 roadmap of the Cameroon Supreme Court. While addressing New Year wishes to his collaborators, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Daniel Mekobe-Sonne, reiterated that the judicial sector in Cameroon has to embrace numerical values in order to facilitate some judicial information to the public. Presenting a satisfactory balance sheet of the different high courts of the 10 regions of the country, the president of the judicial bench of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Epuli Matias, said 2019 was a busy one. For this year's celebration, a word of congratulation was addressed to the Sheriff Bailiff Corps, who did a lot in the training of his staff in Cameroon and abroad. During the handshaking exercise carried out by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Daniel Mekobe-Sonne, and Luc Jodo, the Procureur General of the Supreme Court, they congratulated the staff members on the meritorious services rendered in 2019. 6 members of the Supreme Court were honored with distinctions in different categories.
Of Ndian Division have been challenged to embrace peace if they must have meaningful development. This was the substance of a message delivered by the Minister Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's office, Ebune Confiance, while on a peace mission to Mondemba on the instructions of the head of government, Joseph John Gute. Gerard Nanji once more.
Prime Minister's special envoy making his first homecoming following his appointment called on the Indian population to unite for peace, for it is only through peace that meaningful development can be achieved. These as actions are already on course for the rehabilitation of the Kumba Ikondo Titi, Mundemba Toko Mayemen Road.
The head of state and his servant, the Prime Minister, they are not asking much from us, but to be resolutely strong behind them in unity and oneness.
While giving an account of the security situation, the senior divisional officer from Ndian revealed to the PM's envoy that everything is under control. With barely few days to the launch of campaigns, in view of the February 9th legislative and municipal polls, dispositions have been taken at all levels.
You can be sure that election will take place here history-free.
Earlier on, the Minister Director of Cabinet granted separate audiences to elites of the 9 subdivisions to get a first-hand appraisal of their needs and challenges. Smiles were put on the faces of the needy population following the symbolic distribution of humanitarian aid.
Africa's #1 mobile telephone company has stepped up its plans to improve service delivery and its corporate social responsibility. This is the motive behind the Concept Youth Internship Program, which is in its second phase in Cameroon. Sally Ndolo reports that hundreds of youths will be trained by the MTN program.
After 26 years of existence and 20 years in Cameroon, with 10 million clients today, MTN continues to spread its tentacles. The leading telecommunication network in Cameroon wants to ensure that every strata of the society benefits from its offers. MTN Cameroon wants to add more meaning to human life through its youth internship program. The Concept Youth Internship Program, or YIP for short, is an initiative by the MTN management to train 100 youths every 6 months in different fields so they can acquire knowledge and be useful to themselves, families, and the nation at large.
That a lot of them find jobs, and I think that everyone will follow the example of MTN and start using this huge yellow wave so that internship, we can create 10,000s of jobs in Cameroon.
As leading mobile telephone company in the country, MTN Cameroon has based the YIP on an inclusive policy.
What we've been able to do also is to allow people with disabilities.
These 100 youths who constitute the second phase of the maiden edition of the YIP concept are grateful to MTN Cameroon for giving them the opportunity to broaden their scope of knowledge.
That's really added so much to what I already know, and I know that in the next 6 months I will really learn more than what I have already learned.
After 3 days of induction phase for the interns to have a mastery of the history, running and basic affairs of the company, they will henceforth be dispatched to different departments where supervisors will monitor them closely throughout the 6 months so they can achieve the initial goal.
That ends the 7:30 news on CRTV. Join Aden Bala at 8:30 for the news in the French language. And tomorrow, you'll be in the company of Uncle Lady Gladys Tata. I am Moki Edwin Kinzeka in Yaoundé. Thank you for watching.